Dancer. Not sure whether we're going to get to that point, but that is a Molchami Fuvalos here, chained to the effect of Silverhound. But guess what? It was also countered by Ash Blossom and Jory Spring.
Yeah, very, very quick trade-off there from both duelists. It possibly does mean that Fablan might just have to watch and wait for Paris to complete the field here. But like you said, there's no reason to be giving up too early with the Radiant Typhoon strategy. And getting access to that gold Leo is going to be massively important here for Paris in a beautiful looking Starlight Rare. Just looks extra shiny under the lights of the feature table. We're going to be seeing how much further Paris can go, trying to present this field for Fablan to try and break.
Just grabbing a Kaleido Chick, which of course is pretty good when you haven't even normal summoned just yet. So Paris pretty much can now decide whichever direction he wants to go. This is an interesting card because Heavy Polymerization, when that deck started to pop off with the new support, was a staple to be included in any kind of Lunalight deck. And then all of a sudden, I still remember Ryan Yu over in the US all of a sudden introduced the idea of not needing heavy polymerization and actually building the deck without it. And then because that deck, that player, of course, had that big of an impact as such a strong player, people, of course, followed him. But here we see Paris being back on that card, but discarding it.
Yeah, it definitely has that premium application going second. Seeing as many Lunalight players or duelists in general just being able to go back and forth with trading off their cards. And then one of their last plays is heavy polymerization to get you access to that Liger Dancer or some of the other incredibly powerful Lunalight fusion monsters they have access to. And one of them we're going to be seeing here is more on the starter side of anything than the end side. But the Perfume Dancer here is going to be quite useful to get access to the Lunalight Perfume as well.
Yeah, and I mean the super polymerization, no, not the super polymerization, but it is the heavy polymerization is more of a going second card. Like when you just play that into a field, when you're able to send cards from your extra deck as fusion materials, it all becomes so much easier. Just summoning a Liger into a field is just so isolated, will be unaffected by all of those monster effects that your opponent presented you with, and then it can be real hard to counter. But the Lunalight cards in general play into fields kind of nicely, so maybe you don't really need that. And here in that case, when you're just comboing off on your first turn, a regular polymerization is all you need.
Yeah, exactly that. The fact you can utilize that polymerization multiple times as well and easily accessible by the Lunalight Black Sheep is going to make it so much more consistent here. Paris just kind of analyzing the type of options that we have here. Been no interaction from Fablan bar that Molchami Fuvalos earlier on in the turn. It looks like we're going to use the Graveyard effect of the Lunalight Perfume Dancer to try and get us direct more extension to this field here.
Yeah, the Radiant Typhoon deck, to be fair, is not necessarily known to play a bunch of hand interactions. Usually it is only the Molchami Fuvalos, and then of course I almost want to say Radiant Typhoon special, the Crocea, not the Crocea, the Sheena, but the Sheena of course can only be enabled through cards like Crocea to be live on the opponent's first turn. So cards that only work on their own, it's, when I'm looking at the list, really only the Molchami Fuvalos that they are running, and that one was stopped, so we will have to just simply rely on all of those Radiant Typhoon cards in our deck.
Yeah, and as you've already mentioned, Radiant Typhoon are very good at going second as well, especially more so in the Lunalight matchup to trade off the one-for-ones. And then when you're looking at Sheena, as you've got highlighted here, the Twin Tempest of the Celestials Funder can be a very effective card to kind of clear certain areas of the fields in the right responses. And we're just going to see Paris kind of taking their time correctly on this one to make sure no missteps are held, because that's the one thing as well, is when your opponent isn't actually interacting with you, sometimes that can become more routes of, you want to make sure you don't trip yourself up. Like, you don't have to worry about anything from your opponents. You want to make sure that you are clean, clear, and precise with everything that you are doing, and that's exactly what Paris is going to try and do here.
Fablan took a risky approach in his deck building here with his Radiant Typhoon deck. That deck lost a huge consistency piece with 2 copies of the Radiant Typhoon Chant not being available to it anymore, with it going limited on the latest Forbidden and Limited list. And a lot of people have just said, hey, the only way to make this deck work nowadays is with Pot of Extravagance. But guess what? He's not even running that. He has included, yes, a copy of Noble Knight's Shield Bearer, but besides that, there's not many consistency pieces to this deck anymore.
interesting approach on that one. But we do see that there are a couple of very, very good, I mean, you would be playing these regardless, but we still have Forbidden Droplet, maybe not as effective against a Liger Dancer. We still have the Fawn and the Virtuous. So it's really just kind of working out that direct route, and all the information is being gathered now. We know that Paris is obviously working through and building this field here. Fablan is going to be sitting there as well, gaining as much information to know if there is any kind of weaknesses in Paris's general play. But it looks like it is going to be very straightforward in getting that access to that Liger Dancer. And another thing that Fablan might have on their side is that if you are in a very, very strong losing position after the first game, you can kind of take it all together, keep as much information as you possibly can to yourself, and then go to game 2, giving yourself a bit of an advantage with the siding patterns.
That's true. The Lunalight game plan also changes from the game we're playing. In game 1, I think you're very free to do whatever you want. You're just going to have as many monsters, as many big end field pieces as possible, including, of course, the Liger Dancer, which we're summoning the first of here right now. Then in game 2 and in game 3, that drastically changes because Lava Golem and Sphere Mode, they are so relevant in everybody's side decks right now. So in those game 2, game 3 situations where your opponent was able to already bring their side deck in, you really have to make sure that you're finding a way around those. Possibly even just having the chance to summon double Liger Dancer, but deciding not to do so just to play around cards like Lava Golem. There is Lunalight Tiger now, so it will be double Liger Dancer. In game 1, as I explained, that will be absolutely fine. The Tiger brings back the Kaleido Check. Okay, but we are going to get pretty certainly at some point also to the Lunalight Wolf, which then is going to lead to the second Liger Dancer.
Yeah, very direct route of play on this one as well with the Lunalights themselves. Going to be quite exciting to see how the access to the Lunalights come when we get the new Legendary Modern decks, which will be coming out very shortly. So definitely something to be watching if you have interest in that particular one as well. We're seeing the number 60 Dagara's the Timeless being used here. This is just going to be for that extra bit of push, drawing 2 more cards, discarding a Mortron before a loss, which is yeah, not very required right now.
Ooh, but he's setting a card, kind of indicating that we may be done with the turn. I expected like at least an SP Little Knight next to this, maybe even a second Liger Dancer, but no, that's all that we've gotten to here. And I gotta say, I've not often seen a number 60 Dagara the Timeless, even though it is timeless as an end field piece of a Lunalight player. And look at this. We're back in time. Mystical Space Typhoon on your 1 set card. It can be as easy as that.
Yeah, very interesting there on that one. Can't go wrong with a Mystical Space Typhoon, but also what you need to remember is it doesn't just end with a Mystical Space Typhoon. There might be some other cards that Fablan can then enter his own field of play with certain interactions, mainly that Radiant Typhoon Corsair, which we possibly could see here. And we're going to be protecting that set card.
What could that be? Maybe a Super Polymerization or something like that? That is a huge investment, saying, I don't want you to resolve that Mystical Space Typhoon. And the Mystical Space Typhoon, though, and as you explained, that is very important, still ends up in the graveyard, enabling all of our Radiant Typhoon monsters to be special summoned from now on out.
Yeah, so Fablan just taking a bit of time to assess what we have available to us here. Going to see which one would be the first to enter the field of play. I still don't feel that we've given a huge amount of advantage to our opponent just yet. I mean, currently with the lineup, you could be on Sky Strikers, but there we go. That is the Radiant Typhoon.
Well, you don't need extra consistency pieces if you just consistently enough draw the one-off. But still, the decision to negate the 1 Mystical Space Typhoon when the Radiant Typhoon deck has like a million different ways to search out Mystical Space Typhoon is certainly interesting. Ooh, we did search. I didn't see what we searched for just yet, but we did have the Corsair already waiting in hand next to it, and we are going to bring that out, of course. Playing into this field with ease here. But the set card is still there, and that set card now turns out to be an infinite impermanence. That could be tricky.
Yeah, Paris just kind of contemplating. It looks like it's going to be resolving here. So Corsair is going to be very effective here, being able to grab access to another Radiant Typhoon card, except itself, of course, and another Mystical Space Typhoon. So we can try and see another way of being able to deal with that unknown set card. And I think you might be right if it is a Super Polymerization, because that could be a little bit damaging as Fablan tries to build their field. But I don't think that there's anything else worth really using that Mystical Space Typhoon on otherwise.
Nah, I do think we're just going to go after the set card and then we will all find out. I'm making the call that it should probably be that Super Polymerization that I was suspecting. Against Radiant Typhoon, going second that card is definitely good because you can take away some of their end field pieces like Totem Bird alongside another wind monster. Going first though, it's not like they're bringing two scary monsters onto the field in the beginning anyhow, so you're hindering their potential to link climb into their Link 2, but they are still probably going to get to that point. It's just a little delayed, so not necessarily the best card to have against that matchup in the first place. And it was that Super Polymerization. Well, we are analysts for a reason, huh?
Yeah, very, very well read. We do get another extension here on the Radiant Typhoon side, getting access to the Radiant Typhoon Phonics, the Great Flame. So we now have the two strongest Radiant Typhoon monsters in terms of their attack stats. So we've got 3,000 with the Great Flame, and then we've got 2,200 with the Crocea. And then, of course, there are additional effects that the Phonics, the Great Flame, can obviously put into play.
Yeah, so this is tempting, trying to already use the effect of Liger Dancer here, I would say, because if you don't, the next thing happening most likely is going to be a quick play. Yes, you can still chain to the quick play before the Phonics could activate, but depending on what the quick play is, that may already cause other problems then as well. Oh, okay. Oh, the Eldon was searched earlier on with the Chant. Thanks for revealing, Fabian, so we know that is still a problem left to come. And Paris is now really thinking whether that is the moment we need to use the Liger Dancer. So if we could also, if we don't use the Liger Dancer right here, right now, that immediately gives Fabian the option to just also go into the Link 2, having that already established, getting another copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. So, and there you go, immediately what he's doing. And yeah, that is an on-summon effect, which we are happily going to resolve. And that is another difficult situation now, because if we don't get rid of that, guess what? We're also going to get access to the trap card, to the Mandate. And when the Mandate is on the field, it's going to be even harder to win the grind game.
Yeah, there's just a lot of trading off here. Paris is kind of thinking a lot about these resolutions here, and it does mean that Eldam is going to enter the field of play, and then this is going to allow to build a little bit more advantage on Fabian's side.
Which one are we going to grab? So we went for Crocea already, but we do still have Megala. Megala, though, certainly the weakest when you are currently trying to play into a field, because Megala doesn't do anything on summon, but requires you to activate another quick play, and then, as the Phonics would have done, activates on a new chain. So that is certainly vulnerable into that Liger Dancer that Paris still is holding and not activating yet. So I would have preferred a Sven, but maybe there also is a Sven in hand, so that's like the only option we had left there, really.
Yeah, I think you're correct, right.
Oh, vision though. I see the vision.
Yeah, so very, very good option on this one as well from Fabian. Still kind of trading off back and forth with Paris. Paris is being very, very conservative with that Liger Dancer effect here, just making sure that it's used at the most opportune time. Fabian here going to be drawing two cards and then discarding the Crocea.
Giving up on that because we don't need that anymore. Have resolved it already, and here comes the effect of our Varun activating the Mandate straight from the deck. And it's just snowballing, isn't it? Like, you get all those effects that just generate a little bit of advantage. Against the Mandate, okay, we had the Sven already. That's probably why we searched for the Megala. Nicely anticipated. And yeah, like, that card is just such a grind card, the Mandate. Every turn we get to draw more cards while we're accumulating more spells in the grave. So at this point, you can just outgrind the Lunalight. Like, as crazy as that sounds, it is very much possible to outgrind Lunalight, because with those returning Mystical Space Typhoons, you can just always destroy their spell and traps as well. And that may even protect your Crocea from being destroyed by that Liger Dancer eventually, when we get access to also our Ascendants, which is going to be, which is played as a free of in his deck, by the way, I just realized. Ascendance as a free of is nice. It's not necessarily the biggest consistency booster, because on its own it doesn't enable any kind of combo, because it only gets to interact with cards from your graveyard or search another copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. But when you're already playing, it's really, really good to have more copies of your Radiant Typhoon spells to trigger, for example, your Megala, to trigger your Varun, and therefore I do see why we are playing free of that. Oh, look at, oh, this is insane, because he's even playing the technology to work around Liger Dancer. If you're not familiar, everyone at home, Gossip Shadow is basically rewriting the effect that it is being chained to, meaning Liger Dancer can be countered with this, insanely enough.
Yeah, very, very well piloted here from Fablan here. Going to continue to keep pushing as well. Maybe we're just going to put ourselves in a position where that Liger is going to be the least effective one for them at all. Paris still has a bit more advantage here. There is still no life point change whatsoever. 16 minutes into this duel, but both duelists have kind of navigated correctly. And at the very least, again, on the flip side of this one, Paris should be taking in as much information as possible as we work our way into the Varun.
This is madness. So we have now established the Gossip Shadow, which is the perfect answer to that Liger Dancer. And we have now also resolved the Megala, making sure that that Varun is in rotation too. And guess what? Here comes Great Fly. And we know there's another mystical Space Typhoon in the graveyard. And we have not used the graveyard effects of either Varun or Phoenix yet. Both ready to return. And then when you have the boost by the Great Fly and by the Mandate, that Phoenix will be big enough to attack over Liger Dancer.
Yeah, so it definitely looks like Fablan is going to try and push it through for this turn and leave Paris with very little to be coming back to. Just confirming where we're at on attack stats and everything else in between. Having a look at what else we have. Like you said, all we need is a Mystical Space Typhoon, and we're going to be able to flood the field with a couple more strong monsters in order to kind of push this one through. They're just currently doing the maths on this one of which one it needs to kind of get the final punch in, and just looking up at the Mandate as well. Very, very well played by Fablan here.
Very much so. And I mean, I said, yes, you can get over Liger Dancer. They're both 3,800. It will do the trick. You get the result in that you want. So that's all that matters. And I can tell you, getting a Phoenix back is a lot easier than getting another Liger Dancer out when you're playing with all of those Mystical Space Typhoons here. And those Mystical Space Typhoons, of course, combined with the Mandate, even better. You don't even need to deal with the Tiger here, because when you're just activating a Mystical Space Typhoon on the tanky, you can chain the Mandate technically to negate the Tiger permanently, but no, still we want to deal with that Tiger. And look at this. Chaining one Varun, chaining two Phoenix, both big monsters ready to return. And that's what we are going to see here. And Paris kind of knows his fate here. Fablan just with a real strong engine hand going second, having the best matchup imaginable in that case.
Yeah, very, very well done here. So we're going to try and trigger off the Lunalight Gold Leo. We've got everything we could possibly need from the Radiant Typhoon side. Just got to get that final push in, and we're just utilizing the Varun in order to negate the Lunalight Gold Leo, and making sure that we don't get to push any further forward or any more resource for Paris here, and kind of clear off exactly what the Lunalight Tiger just put into play.
We may as well, and there is the free-off that I was talking about, Radiant Typhoon Ascendance. In the beginning, very much was only played as a one-off, but now is established here in Fablan's list as a free-off. We bring back the Crusea, and now we use the effect of Phoenix, completely dismantling this entire field. Okay, we're chaining that Liger Dancer there, but Fablan, before even a fusion monster hit the graveyard, already grabs his Gossip Shadow, redirecting that effect and redirecting that game into his own direction as Fablan takes down game number 1, going second into the Liger Dancer. Some decks just immediately when they see the Liger Dancer, they're like, oh yeah, that game is over, but not Fablan.
Yeah, he did that very, very well. Every step you kind of predicted what was going to happen. Fablan kind of followed that in their own way, got the right result as well. Paris was just sitting there holding on to the Liger Dancer to get it done, but as you've already mentioned, it now kind of shifts a bit more. So Fablan has the information of what he's going to be facing. Yeah. Probably going to be going second. I'd be very surprised if you want to let the Liger Dancers go first. So I feel that this is going to be quite interesting to see, and how cautious Paris plays it in regards to how many Liger Dancers are left on the field.
So the issue is the matchup already is favored towards the Radiant Typhoon deck. Therefore, you can not really afford to respect cards like Lava Golem and Sphere Mode as much anymore. And I think you just still have to go all in, sorta, getting as many cards out as possible. Maybe also trying to get towards a Baguska, which could help here to hinder them from getting all of those monsters onto the field step by step. So I think you just, in that particular matchup, you go in, while in others you would have maybe played it a little bit more cautiously, I would think.
Yeah, I think you're in the right one on that one. It's going to be quite interesting to see. So the Duelists still have plenty of rounds to go. This isn't like far from over. Just having a look at some of the side decks as well. Mainly going to be looking at Fabian's side deck. There is a card. It's not Lava Golem, but relatively similar to Lava Golem. But there's also one of the brand new cards from Chaos Origin that can play a very good part in going second to help you get to particular cards like that. And that is, of course, the Pot of
he likes
Sloth.
pot cards. No Pot of Extravagance in the main deck, but there is still is some respect for the pot cards. And at this point, maybe that is a better pot card, honestly. Like, not giving up any resources from your extra deck, not having the restriction of not being able to draw cards anymore for the rest of the turn. So Pot of Sloth, I think in the beginning people were sleeping a little bit on that card.
Yeah.
But as soon as the first tournaments were played with Chaos Originals being legal, people realized, oh, yeah, well, hold on, that card may just be the most staple card ever in the side deck for going second situations. And I'm just waiting for the day where people are even going for the main deck technology of Pot of Sloth, honestly.
Yeah, going to be very, very interesting to see if that comes in. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. There's also something else quite interesting. There's going to be two more Mangalas in the side deck as well.
Going first.
Going first more so than anything. Bystial Magnum, would you kind of... I mean, there are some targets you might want to try and get rid of from the Lunalight graveyard, but to try and rely on that one-of may or may not be as effective in comparison, but...
I mean, you throw it in, yeah. I mean, you throw it in, you have good targets with the Silverhound, and then additionally to that, in the end phase, you can just grab the Sheena for free.
Yep.
So I think it's definitely worth it. It's worth getting back into the gameplay action as well, though, as players are ready. So why don't we get Game 2 started? There we have them, waiting for their fate, and Paris cannot be happy after how that first game went, because even though Fabian has that favorable matchup and played perfectly into his field, he only ended on one Liger Dancer with a Tugaris next to it, which cannot be the main game plan, really.
Yeah, completely agree. But we're going to be starting off with one of the best cards you can start off with the Lunalight strategy, being the Lunalight Gold Leo, and then going to be working our way into sending the Martin. And the Lunalight Martin can also be very, very effective here to get a bit more resource. And we're going to be going into the Masquerade.
Masquerade, indeed it is. And that's, of course, another way to secure, when you have access to this card, which we did not have at all in the first game, to get that second Liger Dancer out, as now we, of course, are allowed to also use fusion materials from the graveyard. And guess what? Molchami Fuvolos twice even! So the first one in game 1 did not resolve, so Fabian made sure he's bringing a second one. But this time around, even both of them are resolving.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Very, very big here. I guess the question is how much fire. And the fact of the matter is it was chained to an effect that guarantees there's going to be a summon from the deck. So you replace them straight away.
That is insanity. And Paris, yeah, he's looking at his 2 level 4 monsters there. In those situations, if there's only one Molchami Fuvolos, oftentimes you just go for plan B, which is Baguska. But giving your opponent 2 extra draws here, when they can just turn 2 Radiant Typhoon monsters on their side of the field easily into a Varun, which is an instant out to Baguska. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think that could be very, very tricky here. And then obviously Paris is contemplating how far we go. And it looks like we're going to be going for the Tiger, utilizing the Lunalight Gold Leo on this one, getting that back to the hand. Every extra deck summon or summon from the deck is going to give Fabian 2 more cards. I mean, even the whole hand of 5 kind of puts you in a position where you don't want to... You definitely don't want to be stopping on something like this.
Yeah.
I think that's too risky to do. Unless the hand is a couple of superpolarizations, but even then that's not going to be that effective.
Okay, that's at least not a draw, because we are special summoning back from the graveyard there by putting that monster back into our hand to bring that Yellow Martin out from the graveyard that we had previously sent. And Fabian sits there once again in anticipation of his own turn, which last time he used perfectly to play through everything. Okay, we have the hard-drawn Lunalight Wolf this time around. We just... Oh, Pendulum Summon! You don't see that every day. Yes, there are Pendulum monsters in the Lunalight deck, but it's not very common to actually go now for that mechanic, getting 2 monsters from your hand, which from your hand is not... Oh. What are we about to see now? Hold on, okay.
Even Fablan was pretty shocked at that one as well.
Okay. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. All of a sudden, we've turned our Lunalight deck into a Mathmech strategy as we do go for Prime Mathmech Elimversion, using the effect to get 4 materials off of it to add a spell trap. Any spell trap from your deck to your hand, and that is resolving.
Could we... What would you go for? I mean, anti-spell sounds very, very good, but then you still have Fallen the Virtuous and Mystical Space Typhoon that instantly trade off with that.
Yeah, so... Oh, Mistaken Arrest. That's good.
Ooh,
I can do it.
Very interesting.
Oh, and Fablan is shaking his head. That's a good card to get against the Radiant Typhoon strategy, but we're really investing all of our resources into it here as well. We still haven't used the Lunalight Wolf, though, so we could turn this maybe into a Liger Dancer as well if we get another fusion monster into the graveyard there. But are we going to be able to Paris? Do we really want to give more draws? It's rough.
Yeah, I think to give more draws would be very, very risky here. Especially when Fablan is currently on 7 cards in the opening hand, or the hand right now will be opening to 8 cards. And we're going to be utilizing the Kaleido Chip coming back from the graveyard, possibly sending a fusion monster from the extra deck to the graveyard, trying to set up as much graveyard resource as possible. But yeah, this is... I think the Mistaken Arrest could be very, very big for Paris, but it depends on how much more we give Fablan here to work with.
For the Lunalight deck, is that one of those decks that wants to activate that Mistaken Arrest in the end phase to make sure that for your own turn it is going to be able to search again, or your deck is going to be able to search again? Or do you just wait for your opponent to do something to get an extra bit of value out of it? What do you think?
I feel that it's probably safer to be free during your turn.
So you want to do it in end phase?
I think end phase is probably the most effective way here. I mean, Paris could very easily set everything up so that when it does come back to their turn, they don't need to rely on that. But we are going to go for the fusion. We are going to give Fablan 2 more draws.
Well, you may stop them from searching throughout their turn, but they basically searched everything already here by drawing so many cards. 6 in total through that Mulchami Fuvalos combination. I think we're checking on the restriction of Mulchami Fuvalos, and as there are so many cards on the field of Paris, he is shaking his head. Nope, you don't have to shuffle anything back here. You get to keep them all.
Yeah, a lot of advantage here, and drawing just the 1 for turn, as if that was needed. A lot for Fablan to work with here. 1 set card, again, you'll probably make a fair estimate that could possibly be an Infinite Impermanence or a Super Polymerization if that was kept in. But kind of see...
I mean, it's the Mistaken Arrest, certainly.
Yeah, yeah, very true.
Because he decided not to activate it in the end phase.
Naturally assumed it was going to be activated in the end phase.
Okay, he knows it's Mistaken Arrest, so he doesn't even bother going after it with the Mystical Space Typhoon. Very reasonable here from Fablan. He is going to use the effect of Phonics in hand, and having that card already around is massive, because that means we don't need to search for it here with any of our cards. And also, one crucial part. Mistaken Arrest, of course, stops you from searching cards from your deck. But Crocea, when we do get access to that card eventually, also is able to add back cards from your graveyard. So having that 1 Mystical Space Typhoon in the graveyard there already is sweet, because we can add that back with Crocea.
Yeah, very, very well set up here. Utilizing the Fallen the Virtuous as well on top of that. I feel maybe one too many draws was given here for Fablan. Sending that Albion, and that is going to then possibly... We did take a look at the set card. Going to let the Tiger be destroyed here, resolving the Fallen the Virtuous completely. Now we're going to use the Phonics to target the 2 sets, or the 1 set and the Masquerade, forcing Paris to now use Mistaken Arrest if...
Oh, and Chainlink to Varurun on top of that, saying, hey, if you have another monster effect in hand, that may be checked by the Varurun immediately too. Fablan, as he did in game 1, continues to dominate, going second here in this matchup. Paris allowing the special summon of another big monster. And hold on, we did not chain the mistaken arrest. What's going on here? And Fablan also is looking at Paris being like, wasn't that the main plan? You went into a Prime Mavmech Alambertian with 4 monsters. Yeah. And you invested all of that to get your mistaken arrest, and now you're not even using it? What's going on?
Yeah, it does seem to be a little bit more surprising than not that hasn't exactly adapted. So we're going to be seeing exactly what else we have here. I don't think there's much more. Paris just might need to try and learn from game number 1 and see where we can go, but it definitely is in the favour. A lot of advantage there for Fablan. This could be the writing on the wall.
Yeah, it feels like it. Now also having those 2 monsters already established, meaning we can straight away just go into our Varun Link 2 once more, as Paris still does not show any intentions of using that effect of his Liger Dancer. Fablan, considering with all of those cards in hand, it's not an easy decision to make what to go into next, because there's just so many options. And all of a sudden, the options are even more, as we do not face the resolution of a mistaken arrest anymore. So we can freely, carelessly, just drop that Radiant Typhoon Eldom onto the field.
Yeah, so this is going to get us another Radiant Typhoon. Linking both of those into the Varun Link 2. It's going to get us even more resource right away.
There is the Mystical Space Typhoon. Here comes Sven. We are able to special summon all of those, as we do have Mystical Space Typhoon on the in the graveyard, which would not even be required right now, as we have cleared all of the spell traps from our opponent as well. So both ways enabling the special summon of all of our Radiant Typhoon monsters. And there is Chant again. It may be a one-off nowadays, but Sven, of course, which always acts as the Radiant Typhoon Chant, is still a free-off. Now the Link 2 gets us the mandate. We have seen this in game 1, and it continues to be the trend here in game 2 as well. Oh, and now you gotta use the Liger Dancer here, because if you don't use Liger Dancer, they can just walk into another copy, as we have seen in game 1 of our Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. And he anticipates that, and this time around is going to make sure that all of those monsters get destroyed here.
Yeah, definitely learning from duel number 1 on that one. Going to get rid of all of those monsters Fablan has, but there's always going to be a but on this one. That is not over. There's still a lot of recursion and a lot of cards left in Fabian's hand.
Radiant Typhoon Vision next. Let's just draw a couple of cards, shall we? And there's Crusea and Mystical Space Typhoon, I think revealed in hand, signalizing, hey, I still got this as well. So you will have to deal with it eventually too. I was actually... I found it interesting that Fablan did not decide to use the Crusea early on, because here in that situation, Crusea would have been protected from the effect destruction of the Liger Dancer, so it would have been an easy monster to bring onto the field, but we just held it until now, haven't even used it here yet, which is a crazy thing to imagine. But due to now the Liger Dancer activating and bringing another Lunalight fusion monster into the graveyard, our Silver Hound now also is live, and we are going to use it here on that Vision. Understandably so.
Yeah, very interesting here. We're going to be chaining the Mystical Space Typhoon. Very, very well done here from Fablan.
Crusea activates as Chain Link 1, and guess what? We are going to use the Rune from the graveyard too. Phonix hasn't been used either, and as we have destroyed Radiant Typhoon Vision with our Mystical Space Typhoon, we get to reset that to all of those monsters flying back onto the field, as we're all wind monsters. That only makes sense. So, do we still have enough gas to go into Great Fly here this turn? I'm wondering. I mean, it would be very easy. We can just link off the Crusea and the Varun to go into Great Fly. Then we have the boost by the Great Fly and by the Mended as soon as we use that to make our Phonix 3800 to even it out, to battle it out with the Liger Dance. So we can do that. The question is just whether we even need to do that, because we could just possibly chill a little longer and keep it a little more control-y here even.
Yes, we still have Magdala that could enter, and we're just going to normal summon down and we'll chummy Foolos, because why not?
I mean, that's a wind monster at the end of the day, and that's the only requirement for Great Fly, that you do need wind monsters with it. so we can go into that Great Fly here. And now, all of a sudden, Phonix is 3,500, and it only needs 300 more, which handily enough, that mandate is able to give it.
Yeah, very quick, easy trade-off there. Might not be enough to fully finish off, and maybe Paris held back some resource. We yet to know. Definitely under 2 full loss, there might be something there. And it looks like we're going to be trading that Liger Dancer straight off with the Phonix, just confirming the current attack stats. Increases that we're getting from Great Fly and Mandate, as Basti has already kind of talked about. And we're going to chain the Mandate to put the 3 spells back into the deck and then get ourselves a fresh card.
And that is a very important thing to note. This can play around things. If you're new to the Radiant Typhoon deck, the effect of Mandate to draw and shuffle 3 back, because it is giving your monsters 300 attack points, can be used in the damage step. And that is what was done here by Fablan. For example, playing around a card like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, because that cannot be used in the damage step, very, very carefully and very nicely here. So we made sure that that Phonix and the Liger Dancer are going to trade it out.
Yeah, and then attacking to get a bit of damage on Paris' life points here with the Varoom of Vibrant Vortex. And then going to be seeing if there's any more recursion from the graveyard of Fablan before we pass it over to Paris to see exactly what fight back we have left, with 13 and, well, nearly 14 minutes left on the clock.
Not much. Both games going second, Fablan dominating completely, getting all of the cards from Paris field away into the graveyard and back into the extra deck. And now even Fallen, the Virtuous that was previously activated, will be reset, or to be completely correct on the term, set another one from the deck with the Albion that we have sent with the first copy to the graveyard.
Yeah, so drawing the most important card so far for Paris. Going to see if this has any effect on Fablan's field right now, but we do have a very, very insulated field here, because we do have that interaction from the Vibrant Vortex. We know the Fallen, the Virtuous, we have Mandate as well. It's pretty much everything you could ask for the Radiant Typhoon strategy right now.
What's funny to me, and in both games Fablan did that, so it must be on purpose. We just brought out that Vortex, that Vibrant Vortex monster negate in attack position, and it only has 0 attack points. Yes, with the Great Fly it does go up to 500, and then with Mandate resolving it even goes up to 800, but that is all we need here. The Fallen and the Virtuous